We all got to start somewhere on the crazy road of music making. And when it comes to learning how it can all come together on the technical side of things, I would say that a good way to get yourself going would be to learn not only the note names, but especially their relationships with one another. And today, we're going to do just that. I'm going to show you how you can learn the different note names, but also the 3 different types of notes in terms of pitch, and how you can know what note you're playing anywhere on a piano just by looking at it. Let's get into it. Welcome to 3 Strings Music, where we celebrate growth together, both in music and in life. My name is Clayton Roberts, though most people just call me Dewie. Really nice to have you here today. Thank you for chilling with me. We're going to go over some easy level 1 stuff if you're just getting started with music. Before we get into this, though, I'd like to help you out a little bit further with a free gift. I've got this handy little guide that I put together for you called the 30-Minute Music Basics. It's completely free, and it will give you everything you need to get started with understanding the ins and outs of how music works. And a lot of the stuff that we're going to talk about today is right in that guide. It will give you some useful terms to know, pictures, and other stuff to just use as reference anytime you need. And like I said, it's absolutely free. All you need to do is head on over to 3stringsmusic.com/basics to download the free guide. Again, that's the number 3stringsmusic.com/basics. So like I said earlier, in terms of pitch, there are 3 different types of notes: naturals, sharps, and flats. Natural notes are probably the easiest to understand. They are notes that have not been sharpened or flattened, thus being natural. Examples of this are probably the most standard notes that anyone thinks of: A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. Okay? In fact, there's a really easy way to remember which notes are natural. All of the white keys on a piano are natural notes. So if we take a look at this piano, which has a bunch of white keys, every note that we would play on a white key is going to be natural. Like I said, there's not a whole lot of extra stuff to understand with natural notes. Very simple, very straightforward. But next are sharp notes. Sharp notes are natural notes that have been slightly raised in pitch. Examples would be C sharp, D sharp, F sharp, and G sharp. Is there an easy way to remember how sharps work? Oh yeah. Pick any white piano key. The black key that is directly above that is that white key's sharpened note. So what exactly does this look like on a piano? Well, let's take this G for example. If you look at that black key that is directly above G, you will get G sharp. Let's give you another example. Here we have C. And if you were to play the black key that is directly above C, you would get C sharp. So then that brings us to, last but not least, flat notes. What are flat notes? Pretty much the opposite of a sharp note. Flat notes are natural notes that have been slightly lowered in pitch. Examples of this would be A flat, B flat, D flat, and G flat. So if there's a really easy way to remember natural notes as well as sharps, then surely there must be a really easy way to remember flats. Well, the good news is, yes, there is, and the even better news is, it's probably exactly what you're already thinking it is. All you got to do is just pick any white piano key. The black key directly below it is that white key's flattened note. Ta-da! Even so, here are a couple of examples. So here we have B. And if we were to look at the black key directly below B, you would get B flat. For one more example, here you have D. And the black key directly below that D would be, you guessed it, D flat. So I hope this is all making sense to you, but you may have noticed something that could potentially trip you up a little bit. We used C sharp and D flat in 2 different examples. They use the same black key, so wouldn't they technically be the same note? Well, the short answer to that is yes. There are numerous flats and sharps that are the same note on a piano, or any other instrument for that matter. Examples of this are, like we just talked about, C sharp and D flat, F sharp and G flat, and also A sharp and B flat. They both would share the same black key on a piano, and they would also share the same fret on a guitar or a bass or just whatever instrument you can think of, so on and so forth. So then I would say it is, pun slightly intended, natural for this to beg the question, when do we know which one to use? When do we know if we should use a sharp or a flat to describe a black piano key or that guitar fret? Well, the short answer is that it mainly depends on the scale we're playing in. If it's needed, a scale will use sharps or flats, but not both. You're not going to find sharps and flats in the same scale. Now, I don't want to spend too much time talking about scales today, but to just give you an example of what exactly this looks like, I'm going to show you two scales right now. This first one is E major. Don't worry too much about the scale itself, but the main thing I want you to take away from this is noticing how anytime a black key would be needed, it's F sharp and not G flat. So we've got F sharp, G sharp, C sharp, and D sharp for this E major scale. The opposite of that would be in this C minor example, we've got all flats, C, D, E flat, F, G, A flat, B flat. Make sense? So there's one more thing with this that I want you to understand, and it's very important. You will find a flat or a sharp in between most natural notes. However, there are two very important and notable exceptions to this: B and C and E and F. So if we were to take a look at this piano again, you'll see that there are no black keys in between B and C, nor are there any black keys between E and F. It's just the two white keys right next to one another. And if you need help seeing where they are, here is B and C, and here is E and F. As you can see, there is no black key in between them. It's C immediately following B, and F immediately following E. Now, I know this may not sound like much, but believe me, this is actually pretty important if you don't want to trip yourself up when trying to figure out notes in a scale. In fact, to illustrate this further, if there were indeed black keys in between these two exceptions, a piano would look like, well, this. And thank goodness it doesn't. So as we wrap up today, I want to give you some final thoughts and just things to keep in mind as you walk away. Just understanding the relationship of naturals, flats, and sharps with one another is very important, but it's nothing to fret over. It's actually pretty easy to figure out once you've been doing this for a bit. If you have a piano, play a white key, say its name to yourself, and then do the same for the sharps and flats next to it. It's actually a pretty cheeky way to quickly understand the relationships between one another, and as a nice little bonus, it helps you understand, oh, yeah, that B, C, and E and F thing makes a lot more sense. And here is one more little trick to help you out a bit. If you can't remember which white key is the note you're looking for, take a look at the piano. You'll notice this white key that looks like it's by itself with only two black keys around it instead of three. Just remember, that is D. With that, you can just work forwards or backwards from there however you need to. So I hope you found all of this helpful. I get it, it's probably not the most exciting part of music, just learning what is a sharp and what is a flat, but they'll definitely help you out with further understanding the basics of how everything works. And speaking of the basics, don't forget about that gift I mentioned at the beginning of this video. You can still get your hands on the 30-minute music basics guide at 3stringsmusic.com/basics. That's the number 3 stringsmusic.com/basics. It has everything we talked about today in it, as well as a bunch of other basic level 1 music terms to help you get started in 30 minutes or less. Thank you again for your time. Thank you for letting me share this stuff with you, and I hope to see you again on a future video. In the meantime, take care of yourself and have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time.